Hi, I'm Jeffrey Redmond. I'm here to talk to y'all today about organ donation. I'm going to share with y'all a personal story from my life. So, just 1 month before my 13th birthday, a 4th grade girl from my hometown was involved in a traffic accident just days before Christmas. And actually, on Christmas, this 9-year-old Abby donated her organs to a boy in Carrollton who desperately needed the heart for survival. Abby was able to give a complete stranger the best present he could ever receive, and that's a gift of life. 4 weeks later, I signed up to be an organ donor. Tonight, I will share exactly what organ donation is, some alarming statistics about the expanding gap between patients in need and organs available, the need for people to formally register to be organ donors, some common misconceptions about donations, and the way to register if you desire to. So first, let's discuss the details of organ donation. I want to define organ donation specifically and explain how it works. Organ donation is a way for both non-living and living people to provide one or more organs, tissue, or even partial organs. They are then transplanted into one or more people. The types that can be transplanted include kidneys, livers, heart, the pancreas, intestines, lungs, hands, and sometimes even face tissues. In addition to that, there's some different tissues that can be donated, and this includes parts of the eyes, veins, the middle of the ear, ligaments, tendons, skin, cartilage, heart valves, and bone. The majority of donations in our country occur between a deceased person and a recipient. This is when a person is declared brain dead, kept alive by machines only that continue to pump blood to all the major organs. These types of patients, as well as other patients who die in a hospital, are the only ones who can offer organs to recipients. Because these circumstances are so specific, not everyone can be an organ donor. All the more reason each and every person should register. Less than half of the recipients receive organs from living donors. Living donors are able to donate organs that regenerate, organs that the donor has two of, or organs that require partial donation. For example, the normal human is born with 2 kidneys, but he can survive with only one. Often a family member or loved one will donate a kidney or a spare lung, and both will survive with one each. Lastly, there are some instances where only part of an organ is needed. In such cases, a living donor can lend part of a lung, pancreas, or intestine. While these organs do not regenerate, it is possible for the donor to give up just enough for the recipient to survive. Some tissues do not require harvesting at the time of death and do not need to be paired with the perfect recipient, but they must be donated within 24 hours of death and do not require matching blood types. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reports alarming statistics about the needs in our country versus the number of actual donors. Currently, there are 116,000 men, women, and children on the national transplant list, and a staggering 20,000 or more die each day while waiting for their organs. Over the last 25 years, the gap between the number of people on the waiting list and the number of people receiving transplants gets larger and larger. There are several myths and misconceptions that might prevent someone from becoming a donor. That must account for the fact that 95% of people surveyed by the U.S. Department of Health support organ donation, but only 54% of people surveyed have signed up to do so. Next, I would like to address some of the reasons why almost half of those who support organ donation have not registered themselves. In an article in the San Diego Tribune, a journalist interviewed a woman who stated that thinking about death is hard, and it's something hard to do when your loved one is in the hospital. It's something she put off, and even though she supported it, when her younger brother died and donated his organs and tissue, it opened her eyes to the gift of life afforded to transplant recipients. She went on to say that it helped her to grieve, knowing that a part of her brother is carrying on in this world inside another person. Another myth is that critical care patients will not receive life-saving measures because they think that medical professionals want their organs. This idea caused me to do a little more research, and I find out that a helpful article called Saving Lives, One Organ at a Time, in the American Psychological Association journal. This article said that 52% of people believe that they will not receive the best care that the medical staff has to offer because they think that the doctors saw the patient as a potential donor and want their organs. We must factor in that this is one of the scariest moments in a person's lifetime, and as a result, a person who is reluctant to make this choice in advance. According to the article, psychologists are working to inform the public of this misconception. While talking about death is something people might want to avoid, the fact is that death is the only certainty in life. It is inevitable, and registering to be a donor is the best way to make sure that your wishes are carried out after you die. Psychologists also suggest that in this journal article that procrastination plays a big role in the disparity between those who support organ donation and those who actually register for organ donation. People are putting off the commitment because they think they have their entire lives to do it. The problem with this line of thinking is that not every organ donor can actually donate. This means, as I mentioned earlier, certain circumstances, such as death in the hospital or brain death, must occur for someone to be an organ donor. Therefore, a good number of organ donors are victims of accidents, brain aneurysms, and strokes. These are all unexpected occurrences that a person does not plan for in advance. The U.S. Department of Health estimates that only 3 out of 1,000 people die in a way to make donation possible. This statistic makes it of vital importance for people who support organ donation to register now. Registering in advance also takes the burden of making a difficult decision at a difficult time away from loved ones. Without the consent of a patient, the family is responsible for making the decision. If there is a viable donor, the local organ procurement agency is contacted by the hospital. The American Medical Association reports that approximately 1/3 of families who do not choose organ donation later in life regret that decision. This is a clear indication that the family's emotional state at the time of death is too overwhelming to make a proper decision. When committing to organ donation is as simple as registering online, there is no need to place a burden on a family. There are several other myths about organ donation that I want to address. Some people do not sign up because they think they are too old or not healthy enough. The fact is that there are very few conditions that prevent donation. Those with HIV, active cancer, or systematic infection are not eligible, but even an 80-year-old man with poor eyesight can donate his cornea to an 8-year-old girl and give her the gift of sight. People who are of advanced age, are overweight, or have other medical conditions such as Parkinson's disease, diabetes, and multiple sclerosis can be candidates for donation. Another common myth is that the patient's religion does not support donation. In fact, most religions have made formal statements for their support. Just a few faith communities who endorse organ donation include Catholics, Baptists, Methodists, Lutherans, Mormons, and Presbyterians, as well as other religions of Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Disciples of Christ, and the Assembly of God. Another consideration for organ donation is whether or not patients may have an open casket funeral after their organs are harvested. A lot of people feel like their loved one's body would be, visually harmed or, altered. But the organs are harvested in a way as if he or she were still alive. They would just be stitched back up, just like a live patient. Even their cornea, skin, and bone transplant will not alter the appearance of the body. Organ donation is a logical, compassionate choice that changes lives for the better. To register, one can visit organdonor.gov. The website provides links to state's governing agency. In the state of Georgia, even minors who have given formal consent provides a clear message to loved ones who will not have to guess at the time of death to kind of guess what the person would have wanted after they die. So. With needs far greater than what is being provided, it is very important to educate our communities about the life-changing and life-saving act of organ donation. Educating in the community will eliminate the misconceptions we discussed today. There is no guarantee for tomorrow. Your religion will support your decision. Almost anyone, regardless of health or age, can donate. Donors will not be disfigured and can have a viewing or open casket funeral. The emotional decision will not burden your loved ones, and most importantly, one donor can save up to 8 lives and provide help for over 50 people. This is my friend Kevin. When he was just 9 months old, he had a liver transplant, and it saved his life. Today he's healthy. He attends middle school, and he's the happiest person I know. So give the gift of life today.